what's going on. See, the camera looks pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Is it acceptable? You
Not quite.
You didn't come in soon enough to check it.
Do.
I told you.
I'll look and see if that mirror is dead center in there.
Yeah.
And it's not centered.
Well, it's close enough.
Yeah.
As long as we're both in it, I'm not really all that concerned.
From a woman's point of view.
Oh, yeah, okay. We're going that route now. Already. It's so early and already. The misogyny.
It's not misogyny.
I'm just
it's
teasing.
just an observation.
I'm just teasing.
It's just an observation.
No, it's not so much that. I wasn't even looking at that. I was actually like the camera is like, it's kind of awkward to move because it's a little bit too big for the table and like the ring light is in the way and shit like that. So you can't get it like actually in the regular, like right in the middle, even if you wanted to. Unless you move the ring light back, which I'm not going to do. Don't fuck with it. Don't fuck with it. Don't fuck with it.
I'll do that shit right there.
Don't
See, you fucked me up. There you go. Now I feel better.
You feel better now?
I feel better now, yeah.
Oh, okay. It's like you got some fucking OCD issues, I think.
Yeah, I feel the earth has settled down.
Okay.
And kind of found its proper axis to spin on.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
My OCD is fucking feeling better already.
All right. But yeah, so it's Labor Day, at least if you're in the United States. So hopefully some of y'all had the day off. We went out last night, so we're kind of we're kind of wiped out.
We didn't come back to like 3 something, almost 4.
Yeah, I think it was like 3:30 in the morning when we got home, and it's like then we woke up at I woke up like earlier than you did, I think. But
yeah.
It still probably wasn't enough sleep.
I never really quite woke up.
I never did either. We had a good time though.
Yeah.
You know, danced a lot and whatnot. But yeah, so a couple nights ago, when did we watch this movie? Saturday night?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we were scrolling through, I guess it was Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
We had both seen The Mist before.
A long time ago, yeah.
But yeah, I hadn't seen it for many, many years. And Tom's like, oh, I wouldn't mind rewatching that. And I was like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. I haven't seen it in a really long time.
I've seen it once.
I've read the novella, but I haven't read the novella for like quite a long time either.
Yeah, I read it a long time. It was in a collection of a bunch of stories.
It was in Skeleton Crew. And then like I think later on after the movie came out, I think they released it like as a standalone, but I first read it in Skeleton Crew, so I've read it a couple times. Now, the movie does take some liberties, but
not a lot though.
Well, the ending is different, and a couple of the characters are different, but honestly, I feel like when this came out, this is one of those movies that when it came out back in 2007, the reviews of it were real mixed. Like, some people were into it, some people were... It made money, but not that much, like, not as much as they were expecting. Especially because Frank Darabont had made a couple of other Stephen King adaptations. He made The Green Mile. Didn't he make... I thought he made Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah,
I can't remember if he made that one or not. But he made, like, a couple really good ones that had done really well. And so when this one came out, it didn't do as well as those because it maybe, I don't know why, because it was more straight up horror, whereas the other ones were dramas or whatever. But honestly, I will say, I think this is actually one of the best Stephen King adaptations.
Absolutely.
It's
among the classics, like, you know.
Yeah.
What's it, fucking Carrie, like the first Carrie. Christine, it's definitely...
The first Dead Zone.
Yeah.
You know.
You could
Shining,
say
obviously.
You could say The Shining, but that's Kubrick, and it's not quite. It's that story from a different perspective, kind of like. But it's you know what I mean. It's not quite in the same tonally as this. This thing is a straight up horror movie, and it's the same tone as the story. Pretty much. I
remember when I saw it the first time I saw it. I don't think I saw it in the theater. Not that I remember. But I probably saw it on cable or rented it like a year or two after it came out. And I remember I thought it was really cool because when I read the novella, a lot of the scenes from it were like just how I was picturing them, like in the movie. But like I said, they did change a lot, and I think that was kind of like the ending of this, which, you know, we're going to spoil. So, I mean, this movie's, you know, more than a decade old at this point, and that's like, and I feel like most people that would know anything about The Mist, like, know about the ending and everything. But this was one of those things where Frank Darabont put a different ending on it, and Stephen King was kind of like, shit, man, why didn't I do that? You know what I mean? Like, he actually really liked the change that had been made, because this does have one of the most soul-crushing endings in
Yeah.
all of horror cinema, and I was there for it. Because normally it doesn't have to have a happy ending. You know what I mean? Like we were talking about this the other day. How, I'm not saying that I like horror movies that just have like fucked up, miserable endings just for the sake of it. But if it goes with the whole tone of the movie, then it doesn't have to have, the monster doesn't have to be defeated at the end, or, it doesn't have to be like, oh, everything's okay now, or shit like that. Like, you can end it in a real fucked up way, and this definitely does.
I'm kind of mixed about the ending. I mean, I liked the ending that they showed, but the book ending, they left you hanging. They got away, and then they just disappeared into the mist, and something walked over the car. And that's how it ended. You didn't know what happened to him. That's how I remembered it.
Yeah, you did. The ending of the novella is much more ambiguous,
right?
But it's also a lot more hopeful. Like I don't think, like in the novella, you don't actually find out what happened to David's wife.
Yeah.
You don't find that out. And you don't find out if they get away. Like, they basically just drive off, and I think they hear something over the radio that thinks, like, oh, maybe there's people alive, and we can head that direction. But that's it.
Yeah, because I liked the original ending because it made you think that maybe King would do a sequel to it and tell you what had happened.
Yeah.
And I was looking forward to that. This one, and you see, you kind of wanted more stories about what happened once the mist took over. I wanted several books like that, something like along the lines of Gunslinger.
Right. Well, yeah, because you could expand this because it's
you could have a whole universe.
It's very Lovecraftian, so you could basically kind of like build it out in that sense.
So in my mind, the world had changed and it was never changing back. In this one, they shut the damn dimensional portal and the military evidently saved the day, which I thought was kind of corny. It would have been better if the Earth was destroyed, basically, that the mist had merged in with it. I liked that ending better.
I mean, I like both endings, and I can see, the case being made for either one. So I'm not gonna like argue the people that like didn't like the ending of the movie. I really liked the ending of the movie because I thought it was ballsy. They don't usually end movies like that, and I was like, and I respect that he like was not afraid to go there.
I would prefer that they had killed themselves, and the one guy was left, and he was left alive because he ran out of ammunition, and then they saw the military, but the military was getting annihilated. That would have been better,
right?
And then you know what I mean. You don't know what happens to him. You know what I mean. You're just left like that, or maybe he's killed. That would have been a better ending, maybe. But the whole thing about getting rid of the mist, was a bad idea because now you can't do a sequel
to the movie. Well, I mean, they probably weren't going to anyway.
Yeah.
But like I said, the book, they left it ambiguous, so you could still do like something with the thing. You just couldn't do the film out of it, or you'd have to like, kind of finagle it somehow.
Yeah. You guys don't know the premise. What it's about some people that end up getting trapped in a supermarket because this mysterious fog mist takes over. And people tried to leave and they got killed by things out in the fog. There's some guys off duty, military guys in there that are in the supermarket, and come to find out that their unit was the post that they worked at was a special kind of like research laboratory unit, and they had opened up a dimensional window so they could look into another dimension.
Same motherfuckers as the people from Stranger Things opening up those dimensional portals.
Right. Problem was that it wasn't a window; it was a door. You could travel between it, and it was in a parallel Earth that never developed. You know what I mean? It didn't develop like this one. It was more like a dinosaur world with fucking crazy ass insects and crazy ass fucking animals. Big, it looked like something out of the Earth or the dinosaur period, but worse, like 4-winged pterodactyls that were real aggressive, huge mosquitoes looking things that were like the size of a big bird, and they had fucking scorpion tails on them, and they had eyes that blinked. They weren't insect eyes, they were animal eyes,
like compound eyes.
Yeah. And there were things that were you just see tentacles that opened up into damn spikes. It looked like something on one of the damn bloodworms. There was other shit, but they didn't show it. There's one thing that walked across the road when they drove out of there that had to have been maybe 7-8 stories tall, the big 6-legged.
I love
thing.
that shot.
Yeah.
It's almost like a big, gigantic dinosaur/elephant thing, but then it had like all those tentacles at the bottom, like Cthulhu.
Yeah, it was like a 6-legged insect animal. It was partially insect and part animal. It had a bunch of tentacles on it. You could see it. They didn't show its head, from what I remember. You don't
Not
know
really.
I'm not sure it had a
Like
head.
I said, it almost kind of had it. It kind of gave me like the impression of like a little bit of an elephant head.
Yeah, kind of like
a little
an
bit.
elephant skull.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking. October 8th said, "Love the glasses, Jen. Thank you." Yeah, I really like these. I've been wearing these for a while. You know. But and I had to order these from like special because it's harder to find like reading glasses that are this shape. I don't know why, but whatever.
We saw a girl working at a cafe who had glasses that size, but they were heart shaped.
Yeah. Yeah. She works at the cafe at Books A Million, like in the Joe Mugs. And they're heart shaped, but it's funny because they're super thick. They're like
Coke bottle glasses.
The Coke bottle glasses like that, but they're heart shaped. She's like, yeah, my vision is really bad. She says, she's like one of the baristas there.
Yeah, she's like a little skinny nerdy girl. Kind of reminds me of like a female Andrew Eldritch if she was a teenager.
Oh yeah, a little bit.
You know, somebody kind of has that kind of face.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, she's super cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, so. So when we were watching this movie, now Frank Darabont, when he made it, because he'd been wanting to adapt this since like the 80s, right?
Yeah.
And he pictured it in black and white. Now, because obviously the studio is not going to let you make it in black and white, but if you get the, we don't have the Blu-ray, but if you get the DVD or the Blu-ray, there is a black and white version on there, and I have seen clips of the black and white version, and I can totally see why. He wanted to do it in black and white because it looks really cool in black and white, especially like the shots where people like are just walking into the mist. And
probably would be cool.
Yeah, it looks really good.
The animals look really fucking cool though. The CG holds up. I mean, you could tell it's CG, but it holds up.
The weird thing about it though, and it's like, and K&B, I'm pretty sure did the effects with like Greg Nicotero on them. I saw like behind the scenes clips when I was researching the movie. And they built all of that stuff. Yeah. Like, they had the bugs and they had the tentacles and it was all, like, life-size. But then when you see it in the movie, it's like, it looks like CGI. Yeah. So I don't know if they just, like, used the practical and then, like, did CGI over it. Yeah. Or used CGI to, like, enhance it. Because it looked like they built all that stuff. Like, they had all the tentacles.
I think it was
like,
a mixture of stuff.
It might have been. Yeah. It doesn't look perfect.
It looks good though.
But it still looks good, for that time period.
There's a scene where they go into a pharmacy, and these parallel universe prehistoric fucking spiders. They're kind of like a colony, like ants, and they range from the size of a real spider, like the babies, to the size of a fucking grapefruit, to the size of a cat. To bigger than a man. They got bigger than a man, I'd say. Maybe 10-foot leg span on them. They were bigger than a damn fucking Alaskan crab, or those things down the deep sea crabs are bigger than that. And they impregnated one dude and they were eating him alive. They're inside of him, kind of like that thing from Squirm. They can make webs. They fucking hemmed up and these webs hanging, and they were alive in there, some of them.
Which is kind of like Alien, like when they found him like with all the hosts,
And the bigger ones could shoot a web out of their abdomen that was a long string, a line. It was acidic. If it landed on you, it would just lay you right open down to the bone, fucking skin would slide off. And that's the way it was in the book, and they fucking captured it perfectly. How dangerous something like that would be. And the weird thing about them, when you look at them, they look like something that could really exist. When you show them, they're kind of familiar looking. They're kind of crab-like too, but they had eyes that blinked. Yeah. None of them had compound eyes like an insect. They had eyes like on an animal, like a mammal, or a fucking bird. It was effective. It was a very effective design for the creature designs. That you could buy that something like that would exist in a parallel universe.
Yeah, I mean, when you're designing a monster or a creature for a horror movie, it's always good to use actual creatures.
Yes.
But just kind of like mix and match.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or pick like super weird ones and stuff like that and kind of mix and match like attributes because, you know, there is stuff that has all of those attributes that actually do exist, just maybe not all at the same time.
Yeah, well, it made sense. You know, in the other universe, it's still basically the dinosaur, age of the dinosaur, basically. But all these primitive creatures have evolved. It's still the same year. It's still, you know, 2020 or whatever. When did this come out? 2016?
2007.
2007? Still 2007. It's just a parallel 2007. And the insects have fucking evolved to have, or these particular insects to evolve fucking have advanced traits, including mammalian type eyes. Well, that would be fucking bizarre. And then you had things that were like pterodactyls, but they had 4 wings like a dragonfly. Now, that would probably work, maybe. I think that might work. I don't know if you'd need 4. It was hovering, though, kind of like the way a dragon, and turning like the way a dragonfly would. It's a pretty good design. You know, I don't know if it's possible in nature, but it looked like it would be possible. Run on 2 legs.
When we were watching the movie and they first have that scene where, you know, they're all in the grocery store and, like, the bugs start, like, hitting against the glass and everything. And it's like, we were making jokes like, we live in Florida. We've seen bugs that big.
Yeah.
Big deal.
You go to Circle K and the whole side of them covered with mayflies. Like that. Yeah, that's it. When I was a kid, it was in Mississippi, it was more like that. I don't know if it's insecticides or if it was just the area's built up more. I think it might be insecticides. In the summertime, every fucking parking lot light and every fucking store window was just covered with fucking bugs trying to fight to get their way in. Just fucking, what were those things? Cicadas were one of them that would try to get in.
Those are pretty.
Everybody had
big
bug
too.
Zappers, and all night. I don't know why you had bug zappers. I guess it was just more entertainment.
We had them too.
You sit there and just
you just sit out there on the porch and smoke and watch all the bugs get electrocuted.
They had a blue light on them that would attract every fucking bug for a mile.
I know.
And you just kill them all. You know, and then there'd be a fucking
Let
big
God
pile.
sort them out.
Yeah, a big pile of fucking flying insects underneath it with frogs eating the fucking bugs that were falling. Frogs fat as fuck. Did you ever have a collection of frogs underneath them?
Yeah. They just like sit down there going, woohoo.
I guess killed them all out. The main ones I remember was fucking moths was one of them.
Yeah.
And then I just mostly remember cicadas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How funny would it have been, like, if in the mist they, like, started hanging, like, no pest strips, like, outside the grocery store and shit like that?
Every now and something come. And then those big beetles, like Japanese beetles.
Yeah.
Had those for a while. They were fucking big, almost like a June beetle.
Yeah.
And then you'd hear pap, and you'd look, and there'd be a big old fucking palmetto bug, big cockroach, because they'd fly.
Yeah.
They'd try to fly up into it. Fucking get electrocuted.
You know it's even bigger in Florida. You know it's even bigger than the palmetto bugs are those water bugs.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
You don't
those
see
are
them that often. They're big though.
You don't, but they're horrifying.
Yeah.
Every now and then, like after a rainstorm or something, you'll be walking through the parking lot and see one like in a puddle, and you'll be like, "Ah!"
Yeah.
They're gigantic.
Those giant fucking black locusts with the yellow stripes, the yellow-red stripes on them.
I saw one of those in our driveway.
Yeah.
Just a couple days ago.
Those things used to be so common when I was a kid. You don't see them already.
Yeah, my grandmother used to like pick them off and have to pick them off her plants because they would just eat your plants.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just eat big holes in them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I hadn't seen this movie in a really long time, and I forgot how fucking good this movie was. Like all the acting is amazing. Like the ensemble cast in this is incredible. Also, I forgot how many motherfuckers from The Walking Dead were on this.
Yeah.
Which, like I said,
Walking Dead.
yeah, half The Walking Dead is in this movie. Well, like, because, you know, it's Frank Darabont, and he was, like, the showrunner for the first... how many seasons was he the showrunner for?
Who?
Frank Darabont, the guy that directed this movie. He was the showrunner for The Walking Dead, for the first few seasons.
4 seasons, maybe?
Right, so it's like...
The best seasons?
Yeah, the good ones.
Yeah.
Andrea is in this.
Yeah.
Carol is in this.
Yeah.
Like, Jeffrey DeMunn is in this.
Yeah.
And actually, I had forgotten that Carol was in. She's not in it, like, a lot. She's just at the very beginning and, like, at the very end. You see her again.
The black guy from Boston, I think, was fucking... Wasn't he from Boston? The guy that walked
yeah.
I think
the guy that was the neighbor of the
neighbor.
Of the main guy.
I think he was in The Walking Dead too
he might have been.
Later on, I think, or
yeah.
Towards the end, I think he was somebody in one of those groups.
He might have been.
He did a real good job, and that was an interesting character. He thought people were fucking lying to him about what was out there. He's in denial. He didn't think there was any monsters out there.
See that? Well, that's the great thing about this movie is that like obviously it's like really bad that like there's monsters out there that will fucking tear you in half and shit like that. But the real horror of it is all of the people inside and like the little factions that they and the fact that like when it first happens, like they the guys go in the back and they see that bag boy get taken away by the fucking tentacles. You know what I mean? That's like the first thing they see, and then they go back in the front and they're like, "We hate to tell you this, but tentacles," and everybody's like, "Bullshit." Which I guess you wouldn't.
Yeah, and then you go back there to look at the tentacle.
Because I think like deep down they were probably like, "Oh shit, I don't want to know." Like they didn't want it to be confirmed. You know what I mean? But yeah. So one of the differences, I think, one of the main differences in the movie, like from the movie to the novella, other than the ending, obviously, is the character of Mrs. Carmody. Yeah. Now she is Marcia Gay Harden is great in this movie. She could almost come across, because she's so like over the top, like crazy. She could almost come across as like a caricature, but she totally does not. No, like she's totally believable in this.
In this, she's a mentally ill, definitely a mentally ill.
Oh, big time.
Chick who's like real Bible thumper, like a
fundamentalist, like
but
Old
not
Testament.
A real fundamentalist. She's not even quoting scripture; she's making scripture up.
She's just pulling it out
of
her
ass.
She's
fucking crazy, yeah. And she thinks it's fucking basically this is God's wrath upon him, and nobody believes her at first. But as the situation gets worse and worse, she starts getting a whole damn cult following her, and then she's telling them that she's getting messages directly from God. So because it goes like a Jim Jones.
Because that's the thing, then, she does correctly predict some shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that kind of makes everybody be like, oh, well, maybe she's on to something. You know what I mean? As shit gets crazier and crazier, because obviously if you're in that situation, like I totally believe it. Like half of the people, maybe not fully half, but maybe like close to half of the people would probably go in that because they couldn't fucking deal with it, like the reality of it, and they'd just be like, oh well, yeah, this must be like some biblical shit.
Yeah, and the people that are in there are just supermarket employees, so they're not trained for any kind of leadership. And the military guys that are in there are flunky military. They're just privates, and they're not. They're tech. They're kind of like tech guys. I think they're tech and support type guys. So they don't really have they're not old enough, or they don't really have the gravitas to take charge and try to get shit done. I think it wasn't the main dude was not the manager, but that was the assistant manager. That was the guy with the gun.
Yeah,
the assistant manager.
I think he was the assistant manager.
He told his boss to shut the fuck up, because he was just incompetent, really. So they just kind of, the natural leaders kind of rise up. And that's the main character. He was an author, wasn't he?
No, he was an like a poster artist.
Poster artist. That's
remember?
Right. Yeah. It was the poster artist and the assistant manager, and I think the other guys they had a couple of mechanics with them. They had a biker with them. He got killed. Remember?
He got torn in half. Yeah.
Yeah. He said.
Yeah, they pulled back just his legs.
Yeah.
That was fucking great.
They tied a rope around him, and he walked. He was trying to go out there, and he said to go get a truck and drive it back around. And he says, put a rope on me so you at least know how far I got. He didn't get that far, and then the rope went up, so whatever got him fucking took him up in the air.
That was a great fucking
Must have been that something like one of the big tall things with all the damn 6 legs.
And then they pull it back, and the rope comes back in, and it's like blood, and then it's just legs. That's great.
It's a lower torso.
Like some intestines hanging out.
Yeah, they says, here, take this with you, and they hand him a little knife, and he pulls out a big ass fucking
No, I'm good.
Bowie knife. He says, I'm good.
But it didn't do jack shit.
He was brave, but killed.
Yeah. Well, most of the people got killed, I mean, to be honest with you. Because there's not really any way you could fight that, super effectively.
And there was also, there's a lot of, King, it was like this in the book. King actually kind of did his homework on personality types. And there's a bunch of psychological things happen when you have fucking people in an emergency situation. A lot of people just wait for rescue, and they continue to follow rules that they were given, even though those rules no longer apply. They show that quite, oh, you can't do that. It might be lawsuits. Man, it's the end of the fucking world. Or whatever.
Yeah, that one lawyer guy, he was like, I'm gonna sue you, motherfucker, too.
Yeah. All that shit's gone. And
it's like no one's suing anybody.
Yeah, and they're not real. They're civilians, and they're not really experienced, and things like as soon as that woman started to gain a follower, they just should have killed her.
Yeah.
You could have done that by...
I was like, yeah, you need to nip that right in the bud.
Yeah, because that was going to be a problem.
That's going to end badly.
You can just go up and kill her in front of everybody and say, I run this fucker. You can't do that. And people will just go, oh, okay. They won't rebel. History shows it over and over and over again.
Do you know that at pretty much every like screening of this, like when Toby Jones's character, his name is Ollie, when he finally is just like has enough of her shit and just like shoots her in the head, everybody claps.
Well, it was way overdue. It was way overdue.
Yeah, I mean they should, like I said,
it was now law of the jungle. There was no laws, and she was a threat to everybody. So you should just.
Well, she was gonna sacrifice the main guy's kid.
Yeah, and they killed a dude. She ended up killing a dude.
Yeah, and she stabbed like the soldier guy, and they're gonna throw him outside as like a sacrifice.
Yeah,
and all
and
of
it
a
was
sudden,
obvious that it was going that way. You could have nipped it in the bud before any innocent people were killed. And if you didn't want to fucking take her out yourself, fucking Walking Dead style, they could have just banished her out into that fog.
That's what I think I would have done, because because she's sitting there going, oh, we need a sacrifice. I'm like, okay, I nominate you. Get your fucking ass out of here.
Yeah.
You go get eaten. Let God save you. How about that?
The damn fucking scorpion bugs get her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the dudes that walked out, what I did like, because I didn't remember this in the book, when they ended up out in the parking lot to get the truck, to get one of the to get the Jeep to get out of there, people got killed just getting to the vehicle.
Yeah.
But they saw what happened to the black guy and his party who just walked out of there. The fucking spiders got him.
Yeah.
They were up there fucking
full of spiders,
glued to the cars, basically. Fucking, and the spiders were hatching or fucking laying eggs in them.
And I forgot that one scene too, where the guy like falls off the wall and then all the spiders like bust out. I was like, that was like fucking great. I totally forgot about that.
I don't think in the book you ever find out what happened to them. They were just fucking killed.
Like I said, I think a lot
you heard them screaming out there, and that was it.
The novella leaves a lot of things ambiguous. Like I said, I don't think in the book, I don't think he mentions where the mist came from. I think there is a mention of the Arrowhead Project, which they do talk about in the movie.
It's in the book.
But they do mention it, but they don't go into detail about, he doesn't go into detail about like, they opened a dimensional rift or anything like that. But in the movie they do. And in the movie they say, that's what it was. It was the military, they were up on the hill, they were doing this weird project, they opened an interdimensional portal.
I seem to remember that there was enough in the book to let you know what was happening.
It was just implied. They didn't really he didn't really state it outright.
I always pictured it that they opened up that door, and in the parallel world, it's just a big mist. That's the atmosphere, and it was just pouring out of that damn dimension door, and creatures were coming through it too, bugs, and fucking huge. The door must have gotten bigger and bigger because some of those creatures were huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they must have just split a rift and the two worlds merged. Because maybe the door just kept getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, and it's just gonna take. And it's just gonna take over the whole
into this universe
world. I mean, if it's Lovecraftian, because the Faded Line just said Lovecraft inspired for sure. Oh yeah, big time. That would probably just eventually take over the whole Earth. I was under the impression when reading the book that the whole world was being taken over. That's kind of the impression that I got too.
Because I think some of the characters were saying basically that with that Project Arrowhead. It might just, the door just might continue to stay open or get bigger. Something like that. I think the doors got bigger.
Yeah, it would just get bigger and bigger until eventually it just took over the whole.
Took over.
Yeah. Ben is talking about Mrs. Carmody and says, was she crazy if she was right?
She wasn't really right.
Well, she was able to predict some things, but it wasn't because she had a direct line to Jesus or nothing like that. It just so happened that she predicted a few things that were right. And honestly, she was, even then, it's like she didn't know anything about, it was nothing to do with, God doing it or nothing like that.
She didn't know about the military project or anything.
So even if she was right, it was just incidental. She didn't really know what was going on.
And she had one of the soldiers killed for it, even though he was innocent. He didn't have anything to do with it. He just worked there.
Yeah, they just used him as a scapegoat because she was like, he must know all about it. He worked up there. He's like, bro, it's I just fucking
that was some
I didn't know shit about shit. You know what I mean?
Probably just worked in a little facility that had nothing to do with the experiment. It was just a support unit for it.
Yeah.
And they weren't sure what it was they were working on.
And that's, and that happens with anything. Like, you can't just blame one person like that because it's like they probably didn't know what the fuck was going on. He was just like he was just like a low level like flunky, you know what I mean? Yeah. They didn't know anything.
Look at the Manhattan Project. It was so compartmentalized. You had thousands of people in basically a fucking artificial city, and none of them knew what they were working on.
That's what I mean. Well, and usually if you're working on something super top secret, they usually have you on a need to know basis. Yeah. So it's like there's hardly anybody that work in those things that know everything that's going on. You just know what you're working on. You don't know what like the big picture is. Yeah. And they do that like deliberately. Yeah. Kaylin Higgins said a broken clock is right twice a day. Exactly. And I liked that they did that because actually Mrs. Carmody is a very different character in the movie than she is in the book. Like in the book, she wasn't like a fundamentalist Christian type, like an Old Testament kind of person. No, she was making it up. She was kind of like she was almost kind of like an old like new age, not new agey, but she was kind of like almost like an old like a witch. And she was old. She was like an old lady. Yeah. And the same kind of shit happened, but it wasn't exactly the same. It didn't have that fundamentalist veneer to it.
She was merging Bible verses together to make them mean things that she wanted them to mean. She was making stuff up. Just sounded biblical.
Yeah.
It's not from the Bible.
Although I have to say my favorite line in the whole movie is what she said to Laurie Holden's character, who I just keep calling Andrea because she was Andrea in The Walking Dead. But, because Andrea is like sitting there going, it's like, oh, if you need a friend or I'll be your friend or something like that. And Mrs. Carmody said, if I need a friend like you, I'll just have a little squat and shit one out. Yeah. And I was like, damn, that is some cold, but I'm going to have to remember that though, just in case. I might need that line sometime. You know what I mean? But that's not in the book. That was a movie only edition.
In the book, everybody in town knew her as a lunatic. She was crazy.
Yeah. Right. And I kind of feel, that's kind of implied in the movie, too. Because doesn't one guy say to the other guy, like, in the grocery store, they're like, yeah, it's just because she's kind of a nut. Like, everybody kind of knows that she's a nut. Like, everybody, like, nobody really likes her. Yeah. But like I said, if you're in a situation like that where it seems like the world has just gone fucking crazy and all of this crazy shit is happening that you didn't think was possible, then, suddenly the crazy person is going to sound a lot more reasonable because... She's saying shit that it's like kind of sounds like, oh, well, maybe this is biblical. Maybe this is the end of the world.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the movie, just see it. She's not. She's religious, but it's her own religion. She's making shit up. It's based on the Bible, but she's making up verses.
The great thing about her character, and like I said, Marcia Gay Harden killed it in this movie. Yeah. She's so fucking great. I think her performance was my favorite out of all the characters. But the thing about her was that she was supposedly super Christian, super fundamentalist, but she was an asshole. Like, some of the shit she said was she was just mean-spirited and awful, and it's just kind of... And I like that she pulled off that juxtaposition, that character. And like I said, I totally bought it. Thankfully, I'd never met anybody like that in real life, but there are people like that in real life. She's just a deeply, deeply shitty person, but she thinks she's awesome. I mean, there's a scene of her where she's like praying and she's talking to God or whatever with nobody else around, and she basically says, most of these people can't be saved, like, because they suck. And so she's obviously thinks that she's the be all end all, like the arbiter of who deserves to be saved and who doesn't. Like, she genuinely thinks that she has a direct line to God, that she's like the bestest, Jesus-iest like person ever, and she has the right to like judge everyone else. So so she's very, very clearly like a lunatic. And like you said, and I think that it's good that somebody mentioned Jim Jones in there because that's exactly like what she was like. Yeah,
they mentioned Jim Jones in the movie.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
We got our own Jim Jones here.
That's exactly. Yeah, we did a show about that a while back. If you don't know about the Jim Jones kind of thing,
you can see recordings of him talking to his people, and he sounded very magnanimous and real fucking powerful and shit. But he's just full of shit,
Yeah.
Gets all those fucking people to drink the Kool-Aid, including the kids.
See, that's the thing.
Because his shit failed.
I mean, that's the thing. I'm always just kind of like, look, everybody on this earth is, none of us know shit. We're just human beings. Yeah. We're all flawed. No, if somebody comes to you and says they have the answers to shit, do not listen to that person. like, because they do not. Nobody.
In defense of Jim Jones, though, I think what happened with him, I don't think he was started off as crazy.
He didn't.
He got depressed, started getting all the fucking pills and drugs, and then
he went because
took everybody with it.
I saw like a very depressing documentary about it, and they used like all of the recordings and stuff, because they recorded everything, which I didn't realize.
Yeah.
So there's tons of like audio recordings and film and all this stuff, because they recorded everything they were doing. So I saw this document, and I went to like a little art house theater and saw it, and it was one of the most soul-crushing things I've ever seen. Yeah. But it's just kind of like, the sad thing is it started out, they started out very well-intentioned, and everything started out like normal. Like, it didn't seem culty at first, but then it just kind of started. So, you know, and anybody that studies cults to any great degree, and I think this movie kind of shows that too, like, it's a very organic thing, like how it could happen, especially in a situation, you know, that's extraordinary, because you're always going to get a certain percentage of people that need direction because they don't know what to do, and so they're always like looking to somebody else, like, to help them or save them or something like that, and that's kind of like a dangerous thing to, and I think this movie does a good job of like portraying that.
Yeah, and the main character did a pretty good job of realizing that, look, most of these people ain't gonna make it. They're fucked. Let's just get the best people we can, and let's get the fuck out of here. And they got killed getting out of there, but that was really the best course of action. You couldn't stay in there.
But the thing about it would, and that's another thing that I kind of liked, because they're saying like how fucked up the ending was, which it is. But it's like, and I had forgotten this aspect. I remembered the ending. I mean, this ending is like really, it's hard to forget. You know what I mean? Because like I said, it's a pretty fucking gut punch of an ending. But I had forgotten that there was another little twist of the knife in there, and that was that the woman, like at the beginning of the movie, you know, who played Carol on The Walking Dead. She was the first one to leave, and it's like they didn't want her to leave. They're like, lady, it's like super dangerous out there, and it's like that guy just came in and said there's monsters out in the mist, and it's like people are getting killed, and she's like, but you know, I have to get back to my kids. I said I was gonna come right back, and they're too little to be left alone, and she walks out, and they never say what happened to her. But then at the end, after, spoiler alert, you know, David kills his son and, you know, the two old people and the lady, and then like shows up the military, everything's fine. One of the trucks that goes by with all the refugees has her and her kids on it. Yeah, they made it. And and I was like, oh man, I forget, that is fucked up. I forgot about that.
Yeah, there's a like a psychological phenomenon. I forgot what it was called, the exact term. I think it's called stress-induced delayed inertia, some shit like that. It's where you're in a group of people get in, like the Donner Party had this. Yeah. A group of people get into a jam, and they either have a choice of stay put and try to survive what's ever happening, wait for rescue, or to leave. If they leave, the longer they wait to leave, the more their chances of failure increase, because they're steadily getting weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker, and the group's getting smaller and smaller, and they're getting more and more desperate. And that woman kind of passed that test. The mist hit. She had kids at the home. She says, "Fuck,
I'm getting the fuck out of here."
Now. Before it got too bad.
I mean, she might have gotten killed. She didn't know, but she's like, I can't stay here.
But you definitely would have got killed had you left later.
Right.
And that's something that you people as civilians and shit should take away. I'm calling people civilians. You people as civilians.
You were also a civilian now, too.
Yeah, I'm a civilian now, too. Yeah. Although I don't see myself as a civilian. But in an emergency situation, direct and speedy action always beats the best laid plan executed too late. Right. So when you ever get a jam, you go right now. If anybody ever tries to capture or abduct you, you try to escape right now. Because wherever that person's taking you, you're going to be too weak to escape when you get there.
Well, shit, that's why I was just listening to one of the scary stories things the other day. They were basically saying the same thing. Like, everybody knows this now, but it's like, look, if you're going to get killed, don't ever let anybody take you to a second location.
You make them kill you on the spot.
Do whatever the fuck you have to do. You fight, you scream, you do something.
You force that dude to kill you.
Do not let them take you someplace else, because you are not going to make it.
Nope. And it's going to take, and he's going to kill you, and it's going to take a lot longer. you ain't gonna like it.
Yeah, I mean, just do whatever you got to do. Just don't let nobody take you anywhere.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like, I don't, obviously, hopefully, I'm never going to be in a situation, like in The Mist, where I'm trapped in a grocery store and there's Lovecraftian monsters, like, stomping around outside. But I like to think that I would have done what Carol did. I don't even remember what her character name was in this movie. I'm just calling her Carol, because that's what she was on Walking Dead. But, I think I would have been like, yeah, I'm with you, sister. Well, and the thing about it is that she asked other people to come with her, and nobody would. Everybody's like, nah, we're just going to stay right here. And she's like, well, fuck it. My kids are at home. I got to go. Yeah. And, like, you didn't know what happened to her for the whole movie. And then at the end, like I said, I had forgotten about that she made it, and her kids made it, too.
She made it back because the mist had just hit, and the spiders hadn't taken over the parking lot yet.
Right.
And you had to go through the parking lot. Spiders must have took over the parking lot by the time the black guy and his group left.
Yeah, which wasn't that much longer, because they didn't actually believe there was anything out there.
I think it was a couple days, wasn't it?
I don't think they were in there that long, were they?
They slept a couple times and woke up. So it was several days.
Maybe it was I'm just talking about like the lawyer and his group when they left. Yeah, maybe it was like a day or two later, right, the day after or something like that.
The Andrea chick, she left the same day.
No, the Carol chick.
The Carol chick, excuse me.
The Andrea chick got shot at the end.
The Carol chick left. That's right, Carol. She left that day.
Yeah, like pretty much as soon as the mist rolled in,
yeah,
she's like, yeah, no, I'm not having it.
And the monsters from the mist hadn't taken over the parking lot, and I guess parts of the surrounding area that she had to go through to get to her house. Now, when the main character, he gets in the car when they escape, he drives by his house. And the house had a hole in it because the day before.
Because there was a storm.
There was a storm, and the storm, I guess, was created by opening up the rift. Probably.
Yeah, that's what the implication was. They didn't say that outright, but yeah.
And the tree hit the side of the house and busted the window in.
And he was going to the
store to
get some, like, what I mean.
Some plastic to fucking tape it up to cover that up. And a couple days later, when he was able to escape the supermarket and go back home, drives by the house and he looks into the hole in that window and sees his wife webbed up against the wall, and spiders got her.
Full of spiders.
And he's like, they got in through the hole in the wall, in the hole in the window. So, but the thing is those fucking things were pretty heavy. I don't think any sheet plastic could keep them out.
But still, I mean, anyway. But that was real heart-wrenching too, because it's like he blamed himself, even though it probably
just didn't close the door in that room. Fucking. Barricade that room.
Well, maybe she didn't know what was going on.
I guess,
or maybe it was too late, by the time she figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't really, say... Because you're not really expecting... I mean, like, a mist comes in, you're like, oh, look, like a weird mist. You're not expecting fucking monsters to be
maybe she
crawling around in there.
The spiders were in there. She just...
Right. Like, why would you assume that?
Yeah.
I would assume that because I watch horror movies all the time.
Sleep in the other room, woke up, and the spider was on the bed.
That's what I mean. It's like, oh my god, you would shit your fucking pants if that happened.
And took her back into that room and webbed her up.
Another thing they left out of the movie, and I'm kind of glad they did because I didn't love this in the book, but the main character, his name is David Drayton, right? And him and the Andrea lady, they fuck.
Yeah.
Like, because they're like, even though he never finds out like what happened to his wife. You assume that she died, but that he doesn't say that, because like you never find out like if his wife is dead or alive. In the novel, in the movie you do. But yeah, in the book they're kind of like stressed out and everything like that, and they end up having like a quickie or some shit like that. And I'm just kind of like, I can see why Frank Darabont like left that out of the. I don't know. I just don't think that tonally would have been really good. Like I said, I didn't love it in the book either, but it flew more in the book, I guess. But they left that out of the movie, and I'm kind of glad they did. Like they kind of they kind of like had a friendship, and she was kind of like a surrogate mom, like, to the kid. I was gonna say too, and I'm not usually like a big fan of child actors, although there's a lot of good ones around nowadays. The kid in this killed it. He was great. And I forgot like what the kid's name was, what the actor was, but some of the scenes, like especially when his dad like comes and says he's gonna go to the pharmacy like to help the guy that got burned. You know what I mean? Like, we need to go next door to the pharmacy and get the stuff, like, to help him or whatever. And it's like, when he's having that conversation with his kid, it's like, I'm going to come back and all this other stuff. I mean, that kid, that was, like, really, holy shit. That kid was great.
It's a good movie.
Yeah. Like I said, I forgot how good it was.
Yeah. Stood the test of time. I own this movie. I should.
Yeah. And because I kind of wanted to get the Blu-ray or the Blu-ray because I think it has the black and white version on it, and I actually do like the black and white version because the way that it's shot, especially like the outside scenes, like I said, you see these people like just going into the mist and like disappearing. That almost kind of looks like black and white anyway, just because there's the color is kind of like leached out of it and stuff, but. I don't know. Yeah, I think the black and white does look like really good. Like just from the scenes of it I've seen. I've never watched the whole thing in black and white, but I've seen like scenes of it. Yeah, Tammy said, yeah, even if he knew his wife had died, he certainly didn't mourn for long. Yeah, I think that was what bothered me about it. I'm like, dude, it's only been like a day or two. Would you like put it back in your fucking pants? And it's just kind of like, look, we're being attacked by monsters. Your wife could still be alive for all you know, and she could, be waiting for you to come back, and you're just like fucking this random chick in like the back of a grocery store.
King did that a lot in his book.
He did. That's what I was thinking. I was like, there must be some weird fetish that he has.
I know what it was. I think what it was, and I remembered a lot of books being like this from that era back when I used to read horror when I was a kid. This is pre-internet, back when I used to read. There always had to be sex scenes in the book.
That's true.
So you have to include a sex scene. So you just got to write that in there because they were popular. They'd sold books.
Right.
So it's not people reading into this fucking, oh, well, he must have some weird shit. No, he's fulfilling market stuff.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
but I like that now they don't really feel the need. It's like because I do kind of feel like for a while. Even like in the 70s and 80s and stuff like that, I feel like even horror movies, they always had to shoehorn in like a romance subplot or a sex scene or something.
All the books
and I'm like,
that
doesn't need to be in there. It's like, if it has to.
It did for the time.
Well, I know.
I'll tell you why it did for the time. Because Stephen King as a household name and something mainstream that has female fans and shit like that. Back in the day, the main readers were young males.
Yeah.
And kind of nerdy.
Right.
Kind of like horror nerds. So they wanted to read some porn. And then the girls that were reading it, they got some porn too. Women love fucking written erotica. So they put that in there. Although, he's not writing erotica for females.
No.
He doesn't quite know it. He's not writing a romance novel, But that's more targeted toward... He's just trying. He knows that it's like a movie. He knows who the audience is. Of that time, back in the 70s, 80s, whatever.
Yeah, they had to
have a fucking
They had
sex
to
scene
put sex scene in
Yeah,
so they always had to like shoehorn in like that
just
kind of
like
stuff.
Every fucking...
Even if it didn't have anything to do with the story.
Every fucking movie that they knew teenage guys were going to watch had titties in it. If it didn't have titties in it, they were just... It's like, why are we watching this?
Yeah, it's like, what's the point? There's no boobs.
Right. You take it for granted today, in the age of the internet, that porn is something you can access very easily.
But back in the old
when we were
days,
kids. Nope. So the only action you got was maybe watching some of those fucking horror movies made for teens and shit. Fucking you could watch Galaxy of Terror and see a girl get sexually molested by a gigantic fucking caterpillar.
If that's your fetish,
and go, man, that's hot.
There's a movie. There's a movie in there.
Yeah, that's where all that.
There's a movie for you.
Man,
if you haven't seen Roger Corman's Galaxy of Terror, if you ever wanted to see a naked woman get molested by a gigantic slimy caterpillar,
he's about 40 feet long,
then that's the movie you want to watch.
That movie is actually a good movie. The special effects are great, and the special effects are done by James Cameron.
That's right.
Before he was famous. And he did a Corman flick. And on the back of fucking Galaxy of Terror, that's how he got the gig for fucking Aliens, like Alien 2. And if you can see, it's well made. It's like Alien 2.
We were one of Galaxy of Terror.
Sci-fi movies.
It is, yeah. It's good.
It had some hokey shit in it. Because there's a Corman flick. But it looked tight. It had Sid Hagen's in it.
Erin Moran from Happy Days.
Yeah.
She was at it.
You can get it on Blu-ray. They got special releases for it. It's a cool watch.
I like that movie a lot.
It's a horror movie.
I mean, it's not my favorite. I mean, my favorite Roger Corman ones are the Edgar Allan Poe adaptations, but Galaxy of Terror is a good one.
Yeah.
Even though, he made it as a ripoff, but it's kind of its own thing, though.
Yeah, it's a ripoff of Alien.
Yeah. And it looks really good.
Yeah,
we just reviewed it not too long ago.
Yeah.
Scott says, I didn't even see The Mist until 6 years ago. Thought it was fantastic. One of the better King films. Oh, yeah, I definitely agree. And then The Faded Line recommends The Endless, a great indie film that's Lovecraft style with the whole cult situation. Yeah, that's a great fucking movie. Honestly, I watched it probably 3 or 4 years ago. Because when did it come out? 2016, 2017, something like that. And I remember really liking it, but I definitely think it's time for like a rewatch. Maybe I'll do it over on my Flickers of Fear thing, because I have been wanting to rewatch it. Scott says, have you guys seen The Nameless, the Spanish film based on Ramsey Campbell's novel? It's not bad. No, I don't think I have. I've read a lot of Ramsey Campbell. I like him as well. But yeah, I didn't know about that movie, so I'll have to look that up. And then Scott says, even in Ghost Story, the guy's screwing a ghost. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And also says that girl from Life Force, hell, I'd screw a space vampire. Yeah, she's super hot.
I want to buy that movie. I want to have Life Force. I want to get like a good steel book.
Yeah. Toby Hooper, if you guys don't know. That's a
very good, excellent, low-budget flick. But it's real well made. And
yeah, I like
I think
Life
it was
Force
a British movie, technically, wasn't it?
Might have been.
It was
might have been. Like the crew might have been.
And I saw the conceptual art for it. It was going to be even cooler. Spaceships that looked like big fucking coffins and shit.
Yeah.
You know,
which if I was a space vampire, I would totally have a spaceship that looked like a coffin. Oh yeah, I would go totally goth with it.
Go the straight up space vampire route. They just went, well, she's an alien being, you know what I mean? But fucking, they didn't give her vampy qualities, you know.
They're like, well, she just walks around naked the whole time, and everyone's just like, all right, well, let's roll with that.
Doesn't say a word because the actress can't speak English.
Yeah.
A little skinny for my taste, but she had a pretty face.
Super hot.
Yeah.
Well, she was a dancer, was she not?
Yeah, I think she was. She was like Czechoslovakian or something. She was Eastern European. Cute.
Eastern European or French or
cute.
I can't remember.
We saw Brandon Tennell did a thing on Vampirella. I missed it. It was fucking, what is that? 1990 something. It's a fucking corny. If you guys grew up, you know. If you're a Gen Xer, you know who Vampirella is. There's some fucking comic books. There's some hot fucking vampire chick basically wearing a painted-on bikini and fucking a white collar and black hair. It was... He goofs on the movie, but it has some solid vampire lore in it. I want to see it now.
I had totally forgotten that Roger Daltrey was in that shit.
Yeah.
Hamming it up. Yeah. Man, he chews the scene. Just chews it.
Yeah.
And spits it back out and then chews it up again.
Some of the shit that they showed in this movie, in Vampirella, or he showed in Vampirella, you can definitely see that fucking Blade ripped some of that off. The movie Blade, which is another type.
Yeah, because that came out a couple of years after Vampirella.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like people forgot that they made I forgot that they made a movie in the 90s of Vampirella, to be honest with you, because it wasn't really that great.
Main problem with Vampirella, from what me and Jen saw, is that her little fucking vampire costume is fucking lame as hell. The bottom looks like she's got diapers on.
It did, yeah. It wasn't great. It was not flattering at all.
And she's a good-looking woman, but she's not as fucking big as They were going to have another girl play Vampirella who looked like a porn star with fucking big implants.
If you're going to make
if you're gonna do it, you go
Vampirella movie, get somebody with huge jugs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just what the character looks like.
Yeah, and she's got to be so skimpily clad, that fucking Vampirella outfit is like painted on. That should have been something.
We had a huge discussion about
what that costume.
Because, like I said, Brandon Tennell. You know, if you don't subscribe to Brandon Tennell's channel, you should. Like, he's this Canadian dude, and he does like he puts up one thing a week, I guess, of like just bad movies, but he makes like funny commentary about them. And he just put up one of Vampirella. So me and Tom are watching this, and we're having this humongous discussion about the costuming choices and like who they should have got, and it's like what they should have made the costume out of and shit like that.
The costume looks terrible.
It's really bad. It just looks really cheap. It looks like just kind of some cheap, like fake vinyl.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's nothing wrong with the actress. Like, her face looked like Vampirella. Like big time. Yeah. But she just didn't. She wasn't like va va voom. She was kind of thin. Not flat, but she probably like a B cup, you know. And Vampirella was like pow. She had like huge
double D
tits,
and her costume was, she's a cartoon, so it's so tight. It's only like an inch wide, and it goes around across the top of the nipples, and then it goes down the side, and then it just goes around her fucking little vag and shit. Yeah, it's basically like, naked with boots and a collar.
I mean, it's like dental floss, pretty much, like red dental floss.
She should have basically been in a painted-on bikini.
Yeah,
and with a little white collar on it, and with the black hair, it would have been fucking great had it been shot the right way. There's rumors that somebody wanted to remake it. And look, if you're gonna have somebody, you gotta, with that fucking character, you can't have a normal actress. She's got to be a full-on, top-notch, porn star has to do that. It's the only girls that are built like that. It ain't natural. It's got to be fucking
Because, like
silicone.
I said, you want her to look like the character. That's what the character looks like.
Yeah.
So make it look like that.
Spoiler, I believe she's a space vampire, too.
Yeah.
Because she came in a spaceship and shit.
That's true.
Yeah.
Scott says, Haunted Palace is a good flick. Yes, it is. I actually reviewed Haunted Palace a few months ago. If you don't know, that had Vincent Price in it. And even though it was touted as one of the Roger Corman Poe cycle, because they called it the Haunted Palace after one of Edgar Allan Poe's poems, but it's actually based on a Lovecraft story. I think it was the case of Charles Dexter Ward, which is what I think. But it's great. If you haven't seen it, if you've seen like some other Roger Corman movies, or if you like Vincent, who doesn't like Vincent Price? Everybody likes Vincent Price. But it's like it's really, really good. Like I reviewed it not too long ago. But yeah, and it's also Lovecraft.
So
even though
Danica Patrick playing it. Yeah, Danica Patrick could have played Vampirella.
Yeah, it's like there's probably a lot of actresses that could play that. But like I said, it's if you're gonna do it, Well,
Danica Patrick, I believe, is a porn star.
Yeah.
And
if you're gonna do it, like make her look like. Because I felt kind of bad. Somebody was talking about Roger Daltrey too. It's like Roger Daltrey, like just from the clips that they showed on the Vampirella thing. Yeah. I mean, he looked like he was just like fucking. Yeah. Hamming it up, but
I'm gonna try to find that movie. I'm gonna watch it.
But I was just kind of like, I was like, is it bad that I kind of want to watch this now? I was like, this looks ridiculous and awesome. Yeah. But yeah, and somebody mentioned that Roger Daltrey was in The Legacy also. Yeah, that's right.
Movie. I own it.
Yeah, Tom really likes that movie. Like I like that movie too. Roger Daltrey was in a lot of stuff actually.
He does a good job in that movie.
He does, yeah. He's not like, but like in this one, he's just like a cackling vampire. Like he's got big fangs and a cape and. Shit like that. Like, he looks like a classic vampire.
Vampirella had an all-star cast. There was a bunch of people in there that we recognized, remember?
Yeah, because we were just sitting there going, oh my god, that motherfucker's in it. I had totally forgot about that movie even existed.
Yeah.
I forgot that movie existed.
Yeah.
It's just, because it was the 90s. It's like nobody did, like,
shit would come and go.
People were making comic book movies, but they didn't really take them seriously like they do nowadays, so it's like a lot of them were just, like, really shitty.
Yeah.
Scott said I read the novel The Legacy when it first came out. I think I might have too, but I don't remember that much about it because it was so long ago.
That's a forgotten classic. That's a well-made movie.
I like that. I like that movie a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
creepy.
has...
They try to leave, and whatever road they take, it comes back to the fucking castle.
Shit like that always creeps me out because whenever they do that in movies.
Yeah,
that didn't have... Catherine Ross was in it, and she was in Stepford Wives, the original Stepford Wives. And also, that was... what's his face? Grizzled old cowboy dude, Sam Elliot. Sam Elliot. Young. Like still had the big stash.
Porn stash, yeah.
The big porn stash.
Yeah.
Or the tash.
Yeah, tash.
As Johnny Shitcase calls them.
And it looked like it was filmed in England, so it had a real good English fucking vibe to it. Guys, if you haven't seen The Legacy, see it. It's about a woman who gets called to this fucking meeting of all these fucking rich, important people somewhere out in England. And it turns out all these people are witches. And this billionaire that's dying is going to fucking give some legacy to
here's
his
all my
people.
Witch powers.
She doesn't realize it, but she's in line for the inheritance. These witches are all killing. He's killing all his subordinate witches and knocking them out to fucking clean the slate. And he's doing it using his mind powers. They're kind of like Sith out of Star Wars. They have mental witch powers. I like witches because they're basically Sith. It's just not as obvious. They're not, they just have weird fucking powers. And, man, they're cooking dudes and feeding them to the dogs and fucking killing people with crossbows and fucking causing people to fall in the water of the pool and they can't break the surface tension of the water, so they drown.
Oh, yeah, that's great. I forgot about that scene.
Choking on chicken bones when they were eating pork. All kinds of fucking...
Yeah, that was Roger Daltrey. Yeah. He choked to death on a chicken bone, mysteriously.
But he was eating pork. He didn't eat chicken.
That, for some reason, that just reminded me of that scene from The Witches of Eastwick where, like, they were choking on, like, the cherry pits.
Yeah.
Because all the witches were, like, eating the cherries and spitting the pits out. And then, like, far away, like, somebody else was, like, started coughing up all the cherry pits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love witchcraft shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, she is a witch fanatic.
I really love witchcraft shit.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, okay. I guess we'll wrap it up because we've been on an hour.
Yeah.
I was going to remind everybody, I put up a video on my Scare Salon channel today. And if you've been following me, I've been doing, like, the Boris Karloff series thriller. Doing them, like, 6 episodes at a time. And I just put up one today that's season 2, like the first 6 episodes of season 2, and it's like an hour and 15 minutes long where I'm like talking about them. So if you're into like old horror anthologies and stuff like that, then you might want to go over and check that out. I'm almost up to 1,000 subscribers over there, which means I can monetize it.
Oh, really?
So,
you got another one? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I have 2 other channels.
Good,
I have
good,
Scare
good.
Salon and Crime and Memorial.
Good.
So I'm almost to 1,000 on both of those.
Okay.
So you can't monetize the channel until you get 1,000 subscribers.
Good.
So I'm trying to get like, a few more so I can monetize those as well, so I can put ads on them and shit like that. So I don't have that many left to go, and I can't post as many as I used to on there, but it's like, well, now that we're going full time with the other thing, I might have time to like put more up on there.
We're working from home full time now.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
That's good. We're gonna get shit done at a faster rate.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be more focused on our projects instead of other people's projects.
Yeah, because fuck that.
She's still got side gigs. She's got customers that call her for fucking graphic design, local clubs and shit like that, bands or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you got the tea people and fucking some merchants that work where they're packaging and shit. But that's maybe a couple times a month, maybe. But yeah, it's mostly going to be our projects now.
Yeah.
We just got to fucking tighten the belt and fucking get shit done.
Yep, that's what we're going to do.
It'll work out.
That's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Also, our next main show is Wednesday night, and we're doing more true crime. Yeah. We're going to talk about good old John Norman Collins, otherwise known as the Co-Ed Killer, or the Ypsilanti Killer, or the Michigan Murders. They also call it that, too. So that's who we're going to be talking about on. He was kind of like the pre-Ted Bundy Bundy. You know what I mean?
Scott's talking about Heavy Metal, the movie. Yeah, man, I own Heavy Metal. I also own Fire and Ice. That's another one that you might like.
Because I think we reviewed both of those at varying times.
Some of my favorite flicks. Heavy Metal's a fucking trip, man. The Loch Nar.
Yeah.
And the Blu-ray is really good because there's a bunch of deleted stuff on it. Shows fucking where the Loch Nar came from, how it evolved and shit. It's fucking pretty good.
Yeah. I don't like Fire and Ice as much.
Yeah.
But it's still pretty good too. It's still pretty good.
The problem with Fire and Ice is that they fucking changed the plot. The Wolf Warrior was actually the fucking father of the evil prince.
Right.
And he was fucking killing his own son who had gone bad. That would have been much better.
Yeah, we reviewed it, so I think we did a big long discussion on that. Like when we reviewed it I think it was probably last year or something like that. We reviewed it. But yeah, I think it's on Amazon Prime actually. If you have Amazon Prime, I think you can watch it.
If you guys don't know Fire and Ice, that's a Frank Frazetta drawn. I think he did a lot of the artwork. It was kind of rotoscope. It was fucking real good animation. Yeah. It led to the very first. It was kind of like a predecessor of the first version of fucking. Lord of the Rings. The animated Lord of the Rings.
See, I thought the animated Lord of the Rings came out before that, but I could be wrong about that.
Okay.
Maybe.
Possibly. I thought Lord of the Rings came out after.
And I don't think it was the same, because that was Ralph Bakshi, wasn't it?
Who?
The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit.
Yeah.
The animated ones. I'm not talking about.
Yeah, what I'm talking about is they were using rotoscope.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it was.
I like that rotoscoping look.
Good.
It's cool looking.
Yeah.
They did a lot of, that was like a big thing to do, like an animation back in the 70s.
Yeah, fantasy, adventure, kind of Conan style rotoscope fantasy shit. It was big in the 70s when I was a little kid.
Yeah, that was like the
Dungeons
main
and
thing.
Dragons came out, and the hobby shops, and the lead figurines who were doing all that. Even like the Star Trek-based fucking space combat ones where you have the little ships on the octagonal fucking maps. We had all that.
Oh, I remember that.
Remember those? Yeah, I forgot what that was called.
I forgot too, but I know what you're talking
Little
about.
lead figures of them. The guys that paint them up.
Yeah, Scott says, it was Ralph Bakshi. That was 1978 or so. Yeah, I thought it was 70s, because I remember seeing that when I was real little.
Yeah.
Sebastian said, "Are those your Tyrell shirts, Tom and Jen?" Yes, we make these. We make
if you want
those.
one, I'll send you one. Send us a private direct message somewhere in our social media, and I can get it to you for probably about 20 with shipping.
Yeah, we screen print them. Like I design them and he screen prints them.
Yeah, make them one at a time.
And we just make them one at a time. Yeah. All right, so I guess we'll wrap it up, and Tom's gonna go make some pizza.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And then we're just gonna chill out because we're, like I said, we're still kind of worn out from last night. Honestly, we're getting too old for this shit. But no, we had a good time.
Starfleet battles, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I remember that.
Right.
I don't know if we ever had it, but I used to see it in the hobby shop all the time.
I used to buy some of the ships just to have them.
Yeah.
To paint them and stuff.
Yeah, that was like super cool.
I didn't play the game. I just had the little ships.
All right, so we will see you guys again on Wednesday night for our main show. Like I said, it's about serial killer John Norman Collins, so hopefully you guys can join us for that, and we'll see you then. Good night.